Hello, 7th grade. This is lesson 4.7. This is lesson 4.7, 7th grade. This is the blue book. By the end of today, today we are learning how to solve two-step equations. By the end of today, you should be able to write and solve two-step inequalities. Sorry, not equations. Solving two-step inequalities. By the end of today, you should be write and solve two-step inequalities. Please make sure you have this written down. Please make sure you have your title written down correctly and everything else written down correctly. Okay, let's get started on today's lesson. I would like you to copy this question down, please. Oops. Here we go. So, just like we said, we're learning two steps, which means there's two steps involved. 5x minus 4 is greater than or equal to 11. Let's just double check some information that we know. This is less than, that's greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. These ones are open circles. These ones are closed circles. All right. And then let's just say we have a question like this. Negative 3x is greater than 4. Remember, if you divide or multiply by a negative, the sign flips. So this turns into a less than sign. And then we divide by negative 3. Okay. So just don't forget that when we do today's lesson. Here we go. Let's solve. We got two sides to this equation. We're going to start off with this negative 4. What's the opposite of negative 4? That is plus 4. Cross that off. Plus 4. You now have 5x is greater than or equal to 11 plus 4 is 15. All right. There is an invisible multiplication sign right there. So what is the opposite of multiplication? That is division. Cross that off. Whatever you do on one side, do it to the other. 15 divided by 5 is 3. There's no negative, so the sign does stay the same. So you have x is greater than negative 3. All we need to do now is graph this. So here we go is our 0. Here is 3. Now give me a number that would be greater than 3. 4 is greater than 3. 5 is greater than 3. 6 is greater than 3. Where are those numbers? Those would be over here to the right. That is how you would solve this problem. All right, let's try another one. Looks like we got it correct, just like they did. Let's try another one. Here we go. Copy this question down, please. We have b divided by negative 3 plus 4 is less than 13. All right. So here we go. b. Sorry, I just yawned. I apologize. Plus 4 is less than 13. There we go. So let's see. We got two sides to this problem. What is the opposite of adding by 4? That would be subtracting by 4. Don't forget to cross that off. Subtract by 4. So 13, they are different signs. So 13 minus 4 is 9. Drop your sign. You now have b divided by negative 3. And let's ask ourselves, what is the opposite of dividing by negative 3? Well, that will be multiplying by negative 3. Eventually, once you do all of the math, this is going to cross itself off. B stays the same, right? And remember, if we multiply by a negative 3, what happens to the sign? It actually flips. And then whatever you do on one side, do it to the other. So times negative 3. 9 times negative 3 is negative 27. And there you go. You have your question. So, sorry, you have your inequality. Let's just graph it. We have 0. Here's negative 27. All right, we have an open circle. Now give me a number that would be bigger than negative 27, 10, 5, 100, 1 million. All of those numbers would be on that side. What does that mean? That means that any number that is on this side of the equation or this inequality would be an answer. So if you picked 0, if you picked 10, if you picked 100, and you took b and replaced it with 100, it would make this statement true. Okay? All right. So there we go. B, like that. That's what they got. That's what we got. And there we go. Here we go. Let's try a few more. Solve the inequality. Graph the solution. So please copy this question down right here. And let's solve it. We got two sides. What is the opposite of subtracting by 7? That is going to be adding by 7. Cross that off. Plus 7. By the way, guys, you should be pressing pause to copy down the question. Don't just listen to the answer. 5 plus 7 is 12. Bring down your 6y. Okay. Pause the question. Try and solve it on your own. Then see if you got it correct with Mission to Group. Alright, what is the opposite of multiplying by 6? Dividing by 6. Cross that off. Dividing by 6. And we have y is greater than 12 divided by 6 is 2. Good. So now we just have to graph this question. Got 0. Here's 2. Open circle. Give me a number that's greater than 2. 4, 5, 6, 7. Those would be on that side of this equation. There you go. Let's try another one. Here we go. Please copy this question down so that we can solve it. We got two sides to this equation. And remember, we want to leave our variable last. So let's start with this. 4. Is that a positive 4 or a negative 4? Remember, that sign to the left, so that's negative 3. That's not a negative 4, right? So the sign would tell you right here, is this a positive 4 or negative 4? Well, it's not a negative 4, because if it was a negative 4, it would actually have a negative sign. So it's actually a positive 4. So what is the opposite of a positive 4? That is negative 4. Don't forget to cross it off. Whatever you do on one side, do it to the other. That's negative 4. 19, there are different signs. 19 minus 4 is 15. Drop down your sign. You now have negative 3d. That is a multiplication sign in the middle. So remember, we want to get rid of, we want to get that d by itself. What is the opposite of multiplying by negative 3? That is going to be dividing by negative 3. Please don't forget the rule. When you divide over an inequality or to the other side, the sign is going to flip. So I'm going to do that right now so I don't forget. I have the letter D. This now turns into something like this, right? That's the opposite. So whatever on one side, do it to the other. We're going to divide by negative 3. And 15 divided by negative 3 is negative 5. So now that you got that question, all you got to do is graph it. We have 0, we have negative 5, and let's see, a number that is less than negative 5, close circle. Negative 10 is less than 5, negative 100 is less than 5. Where are you going to find those answers on this graph? That would be to the left, Alright, last one. This one's with a fraction. Same steps. All you need to do is show your work. We know how to do this. We're going to break it down into small pieces. So we want to get this w by itself. How do you do that? Well, you do the opposite. We want to leave that last, so let's do some opposites. What is the opposite of adding 8? That would be subtracting 8. Cross that off. Subtract 8. What's 9 minus 8? That's going to give you 1. Okay. And now let's bring everything else down. You got that. Over negative 4. Alright. What is the opposite of dividing by negative 4? That's going to be multiplying by negative 4. Remember, whenever you multiply or divide by a negative 4, the sign does flip. So we flip the sign. We have w multiplied by negative 4. 1 times negative 4 is negative 4, like this. Now you just have to graph the problem. We have 0, we have negative 4, and give me a number that is less than negative 4. That would be negative 5, negative 6, negative 7. That would be on this side of the equation. There we go. Let's see if we have a few more questions. We do. Let's copy this down. Let's see what it says. It says, which graph represents the solution? So we have negative 7 parenthesis x plus 3 parenthesis like this. Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, there are two ways to solve this question. You might see it one way, you might see it a different way. One way might be faster than the other. You just have to be able to do some mental math in your head. Okay, so really quick, that is a multiplication problem. So one way to do this would be you multiply this like this here. Okay, and that would give you, right, that means multiplication. Negative 7x, and then negative 7 times 3 would give you negative 21, right? And then you have this 28. This is the first way to solve. I'll call it first way. Alright, so how would we solve this problem? Let's draw that line. The opposite of negative 21 is plus 21. Cross it off. Plus 21. Let's add this. We have 9, 4, like this, and then we have negative 7x. What is the opposite of multiplying by negative 7x? Well, it's dividing by negative 7. Don't forget, whenever you multiply or divide by a negative, you flip the sign. So that's going to flip like that. We have x there, divided by negative 7. 49 divided by negative 7. 7 times 7 is 49. So that is negative 7. The way you would graph this, we have our 0. Here's negative 7. It is a closed circle. All right, something that's bigger than negative 7, 0, 5, 10, 15 would be that way. So let's see if we have a graph that's pointing that way. All right, so it's one of these ones. This one right here, right? That's what we got. Starts at negative 7 and it goes to the right. These are all positives. And that one's going that way, like that. So the answer is letter B for this one. Remember I said there's 2 ways to solve this problem. So I'm going to show you the second way. I would like you to write it down just so you know, because sometimes it might make the question easier for you to solve. So here we go. Let me just press back. All right, so here we go. We know that this is a multiplication problem. So one way, instead of doing your rainbows, we can just get rid of that multiplication problem right away. So the opposite of multiplying by negative 7 would be what? Dividing by negative 7. You can cross that off. You now have x plus 3. Remember, if you multiply or divide by a negative, you flip the sign. So we flip the sign. And then 28 divided by negative 7, what is that? That is 7 times 4. So that's negative 4, right? And then the opposite of adding 3, subtract 3, cross it off, subtract 3. You now have x has to be greater than or equal to negative 7. And that is the exact same thing again. Here's 0, here's negative 7, and x has to be bigger. So both of those answers are correct. You just have to realize which one is easier or faster for you to solve. Okay? Let's try a few more, and then we are done with today's lesson. So let's try this. All right, so really quick. The first one we did, I'm going to call the first way. This is called the second way. We're going to try them both today. All right, let's try this the second way. That means we're going to get rid of this first. All right, so what is the opposite of multiplying by 2? That's dividing by 2. Cross it off. K minus 5. And we're going to divide by 2. 6 divided by 2 is what? 3, right? So now we just got to get the k by itself. What is the opposite of subtracting 5? That would be adding 5. Cross it off. Add 5. You now have k is less than or equal to 8. That's how you would solve this problem. All right, let's try this one the first way. So let's do this. We're going to draw our rainbows. Negative 4 times n is negative 4n. Negative 4 times negative 10 is positive 40. All right, so there we go. So now we got 32. What is the opposite of adding 40? That's subtracting 40. Don't forget to cross that off. Subtract 40. So you now have negative 4n is less than, what is that? Different signs. If they're different signs, you have to subtract. So 40 minus 32. Remember, we got to borrow. So that turns into 3. That's 10. 10 minus 2 is 8. 3 minus 3 is 0. So we have 8. We have more negatives. It's negative 8. All right, now we know it's a multiplication problem. What is the opposite of by multiplying by negative 4? That is dividing by negative 4. Divide by negative 4. You now have, remember, if you divide by a negative or multiply by a negative, you have to flip the sign. So now I have n is greater than negative 8 divided by negative 4 is positive 2. Okay, so this one looks like it was a little bit more work than the other one. But all you need to do is figure out which way is the fastest. All right, let's do the last one. Ooh, decimals. I love it. Here we go. Which way do you guys want to do it? First way, the second way? I'm trying to look and see. I think the first way is easier. And also, actually, I think the second way is easier. Only way it's easier is if you know what how to solve these problems. Okay, so really quick. Another way to write 0.5 is just 1/2, right? So what is the opposite of multiplying by 1/2? That is dividing by 1/2. So that means you're going to have negative 3 divided by, 1/2. How do you divide a whole number and a fraction? Flip the second number, so that actually turns into 2/1. And then you get, right, how do you multiply? Straight across. Really quick, just in case I lost you guys. Let's try that one more time. Okay. So again, I know that 0.5 is actually 1/2. That's another way to write it. That's just, it's a fact. 1/2. 1/2 times parentheses 8 plus y. What is the opposite of multiplying by 1/2? Dividing by 1/2, right? Cross that off. And then we're going to divide on this side. So negative 3 divided by 1/2. How do you divide a whole number and a fraction? Flip the second fraction, right? So you have negative 3, 2 over 1. Turn the division sign into multiplication. How do you multiply a whole number and a fraction? Put it over 1. How do you multiply fractions? Straight across. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. 1 times 1 is 1, so we just can leave it like that, negative 6. So we have negative 6 less than or equal to 8 plus y. Now, how do we get the y by itself? Well, we want to get rid of that 8. Is that a positive 8 or a negative 8? If it was a negative 8, it would have a negative sign, so it's a positive. So the opposite of adding 8 is minus 8. Cross that off, minus 8. Those are the same sign. If they're the same sign, you add. 8 plus 6 is 14, both negative. Now you have your inequality. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is how you solve any two-step inequalities. I will see everybody tomorrow. I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.